So there's so much apathy, there's so much anger, there's so much frustration in the land. So we have a unique and very unique opportunity in Edo State. Because we're the only ones that have come out to say, fine, we don't have any godfathers. We'll just fight this thing through. We'll rely on the people to bring us back into power. And we did, and they brought us back. So that is a fundamental break and change.
Governor Basek assured on continuous training of staff across all sectors of the state. Patience Osalgiwa reporting.
The ruling All Progressives Congress has extended the tenure of the caretaker committee led by Yobe State Governor May Buni for another 6 months. The extension was part of the resolutions after the party's National Executive Committee meeting held at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. ITV Abuja political correspondent Salasan Bala reports that the APC leadership also announced the dissolution of all zonal and state leadership.
Since the dissolution of the National Working Committee of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC in June, so many party members have looked forward to the convention of the party. The caretaker committee led by Yobe State Governor Memalabuni has been working on reconciliation. Some former NWC members less than a week ago took the party to court praying for dissolution of the caretaker committee. This is the next meeting of the APC, which is the highest organ of the party. Speaking at the meeting, President Muhammadu Buhari commended the caretaker committee for what he termed good job.
I am convinced that in the last 5 months, since the appointment of the caretaker committee, the initiatives taken have brought remarkably new atmosphere of hope in the party. Healthy debates are now taking place, and the potential for organs of the party to affirm majority positions as a decision of the party is now possible.
For his part, the chairman, Memalabuni, says the party is committed to reconciling members.
Conflict reconciliation within the party. On assumption of office at the end of June 2020, our party was a theater of infighting, both at national level and individuals was therefore an important consideration for us to be able to commence the process of reconstituting the party's leadership. To achieve that, we set up reconciliation committees across the country.
While briefing State House correspondents, Kaduna State Governor also announced the dissolution of all zonal, state, local governments and ward officials.
NEC approved the expulsion of Intufam Hilliard Etta from the party for flouting the directives of NEC to discontinue all litigation against the party and its members. Number 4, NEC approved the immediate dissolution of the party organs at the polling unit, ward, local government, state, and zonal levels, as well as the non-National Working Committee component of the National Executive Committee.
Al-Hassan Bala, ITV News, Abuja.
President Muhammadu Buhari has said the federal government is procuring more equipment in its bid to overcome the security challenges in various parts of the country. President Buhari made this known when he met with the Nigerian Governors Forum at a security meeting held at the Presidential Villa in Abuja yesterday. The special advisor on media and publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, gave an update on what was discussed at the meeting during the appearance on a cable television. President Buhari also appealed to the governors to work with the traditional and local authorities in their various territories to tackle the security challenges across the country. He stressed the need for a smooth relationship between the state authorities and the grassroots leaders to boost intelligence gathering. The governors, led by the chairman, Nigerian Governors Forum, and Ekiti State Governor, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, met with President Buhari a week after the forum held a virtual meeting. They had resolved to meet with the presidents over the killing of over 40 farmers in Borno State by Boko Haram insurgents and the disturbing security situation in the nation. As the world celebrates the COVID-19 vaccine produced by Pfizer A former Minister of Finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo, says Africa must, as a matter of urgency, get the dose to avoid death. She made the call when she visited Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Yema, in Abuja yesterday. ITV Abuja political correspondent Alassane Bala has details.
On a visit at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the former Minister of Finance, Ngozi Okonjo, who is also the major trade organization WTO. Many will expect her to comment on the WTO election. Speaking in an interview, the former finance minister says African countries must get COVID-19 doses of vaccine urgently.
We hope that starting by the end of January, we'll be able to reach these countries, including most of the African countries, Nigeria included. Will be able to get access to some of these vaccines. Initially, it will be for frontline health workers, followed by some other target groups, older population. I think the COVAX facility can cover maybe 20-23% of the population by the end of next year.
She further tasked government and people of Africa to take the virus issue serious.
We are blessed, I think, not to have the same high incidence of COVID. But remember that we also have very little testing. The Africa CDC has said we need 60 million tests by the end of the year, and I think we've only done 12 million, continent-wide. So we are not, I think we are under-reporting, so we shouldn't feel so comfortable. But that being said, I think the incidence is lower. But that doesn't mean that there are not people who have it. Person has it in the world. No one is safe.
This is the first meeting between the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the WTO contender since the race began. Alassane Bala, ITV News, Abuja.
Edo State's Judicial Panel of Inquiry for Victims of SARS and related matters yesterday summoned the Divisional Police Officer in charge of Ogida Division and OC Anti-Kidnapping of the State Police Command to appear before it on 17th of December 2020 to explain the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of a prime suspect while in police custody and respond to a petition on violation of human rights, intimidation and extortion by petitioners.
Cross-examination, petitioner Mrs. Patience Okundaye told the panel that some suspected robbers who attempted to steal a vehicle in her premises were apprehended by youths in the area. She said the suspect, who was handed over to policemen, escaped from the police clinic under questionable circumstances, adding that directive by the Edo State Police Commissioner for the deployment of officers to her residence was only effective for a night, as policemen allegedly resurfaced after some days and arrested her and her children on spurious allegations. She said the policemen collected over 600,000 naira from her and her family members as bail. Petitioner's counsel Barrister Emmanuel Ehakwemen, who tendered video clips on alleged dehumanization of his client, said their prayers are for the erring officers to be brought to justice. Proceedings were disrupted for some minutes following an argument on whether it was police officers or not who shot a staff of Edo State Independent Electoral Commission, Mr. Emmanuel Abebe. The development followed denial of police counsel CSO Nnamdi of police complicity in the action raised by the petitioner's counsel, Barrister Greg Iyayi, insisting the petitioner was a victim of armed robbery attack. Barrister Iyayi argued before the panel that there is no way the Nigerian police could deny involvement in the act when the process of obtaining a medical report from UBTH was signed by a police officer from Idea Police Station. Counsel and petitioners comment on the day's proceedings.
What I want this panel is that the police that are involved in this act should be summoned before this panel and persecuted.
Key officers that were mentioned, the panel have asked them to come before them to say their side of the story.
We have put it clearly before the panel that our client was shot by the police.
I need compensation. I still have implants in my leg after 8 years because I can't walk properly.
At the end of proceedings, chairman of the panel of inquiry, Justice Ada Ehigamuso, retired, said 154 pending matters are before the panel, with 15 slated for locus on Wednesday.
Some of our matters that have been concluded we are going to take a firm decision on the outcome as it seems fit to us to make our required recommendations to the conveners of this panel.
A petition filed by Mr. Samson Waifo on the alleged burning of his vehicle in Benin City during the hijacked NSAS protest was also adjourned to 9th December 2020 for deliberation and visitation by the panel. Similarly, the panel adjourned for determination of hearing to 14th December 2020. A petition filed by Mr. Iraya Oisamoje Titus against the Nigerian police. Kingsley Uchebu reporting.
Parish priest of St. Paul's Catholic Church, Benin City, Very Reverend Father Edwin Amogbe, has passionately appealed to Edo State Governor, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, to address the insecurity in the state, especially the spate of killings and kidnapping on Benin Auchi Road. Very Reverend Father Amogbe said as a victim, it was pertinent for him to draw Edo State Governor's attention to the nefarious activities of kidnappers on the busy Benin Auchi Road. Pius Sinsolo has details.
The ever-busy Benin-Auchi highway has come under attacks in recent time. There have been disheartening reports of kidnapped travelers, a development that led to road accident and gridlock. Also, Esan West local government chairman, Professor Waziri Edokwa, was kidnapped along the Benin-Auchi road and subsequently released last month. He also narrated his ordeal in the den of kidnappers.
They took us to cross one river. In the process, when they got to the river, 2 of us were killed and dropped in that river. One of them, a young boy from Mission, and one of that elderly man who they claim was not walking very fast. So they took us to one location in rubber plantation. That's where we were until...
Addressing a large crowd of worshippers recently, the parish priest of St. Paul's Catholic Church, Benin City, Very Reverend Father Edwin Omorogbe, said he has been a victim of the kidnappers and so could understand what citizens of this country are going through on that road, and appealed to the state government to do something urgently.
To a jailbreak, but the entire people of Edo State look to you, Your Excellency, for swift change. We know you have the capacity. We know you have the desire, we know you have the courage.
The Man Around Town Independent Radio Phone-In program has also been replete with calls for a rejig of the security apparatus to tackle the situation.
Good morning.
Okay, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. How they talk to us?
Now, Godwin from Yekoba.
Okay, how that area?
Okay, sir. Not be small. Kidnappers want kill us for this side. Not be small.
So, what did they happen for that side?
Day before yesterday, which is on Monday, they kidnapped one woman. Yesterday afternoon again. Yesterday afternoon, after Ulemo, they still kidnapped one guy. So I beg, we beg the governor, I beg Mona help us by the security, may they come rescue us. Say no, they let us they come up for us again. Our mama, our papa, say no, let them they go farm again. We don't know what we do kidnappers for this side. I beg. We did beg. Even the vigilante we will get for this side now from the community, they not get gone. Nothing. I beg. Mona help us talk to governor, the commissioner. I beg.
Edo State Police Commissioner Johnson Kokumo, in a recent interview, had reassured Edo State residents of the police readiness to make the state safe for all.
Equally collaborating efforts with sister agencies, and of course the local vigilance men are working with us, because we will require the locals to understand the terrain. So what we are doing is intelligence-led policing that is equally assisted by modern technology.
Benin Auchi Road has for a long time been a den of robbers, kidnappers and criminal elements. Pius Nsogo reporting.
Gunmen have kidnapped Bashir Bape, the legislator representing Nguruje constituency in Taraba State House of Assembly. Mr. Bape was kidnapped last night in his residence in Jalingo, the state capital. The gunmen, who came in large numbers, overpowered the vigilantes guarding the house and went straight to his sleeping room. Witnesses said the gunmen rode to the area in a convoy of motorcycles. A neighbor who declined to give his name for security reasons said the gunmen seized handsets belonging to the people in the compound, dragged the legislator to their motorcycles and whisked him away. It was the second time a member of the Taraba State House of Assembly was kidnapped in recent years. Nigeria has recorded 550 new cases of COVID-19. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control announced this in a tweet last night. The new cases were recorded in 16 states and the FCT, with Lagos retaining the highest figure of 219 cases. Other states are Kaduna with 52 cases, Kwara 19, Kano and Rivers with 15 each, Sokoto with 10, Enugu with 9, Gombe 8, Plateau and Osun with 7 each, Anambra and Oyo with 5 each, Jigawa and Ogun with 4 each, Bauchi with 2, Edo 1 and the FCT with 168. With the new cases, Nigeria's COVID-19 cases have now reached 70,195. However, 65,110 have recovered from the virus, while 1,182 have died in the country. The Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs says Nigeria will vigorously engage the United States government to remove its name from the blacklist of countries over concern on religious freedom. The Nigerian government has also expressed its displeasure to the U.S. government on this development. Spokesperson for the ministry among countries of concerns against its Religious Freedom Act of 1998 as states religion. President Muhammadu Buhari has said the plans are underway to reopen its land borders. He explained that the foreclosure of the nation's land borders was part of the efforts by governments to control the smuggling of weapons and drugs into the country. President Buhari stated this yesterday at a security meeting with members of the Nigeria Governors Forum at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. According to President Buhari, the sub-region is no longer safe on borders in August 2019, following the increasing rate of smuggling of contrabands and other items into the country. You're watching the World News here on Independent Television. Still to come, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden vows 100 million vaccinations for U.S. in first 100 days in office. You can watch ITV News on Roku TV in the UK, America, Africa, and other parts of Europe. ITV is also visible on Smart TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Android TV. You can view us nationwide on StarTimes channel 130 and GoTV channel 107. Follow us on our Twitter handle at ITV Radio NG. Subscribe to tvRadioNigeria.com. We live stream at itvRadioNigeria.com/live. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/ITV Radio NG. Remember. And out of the foreign scene, where U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has set a goal of 100 million COVID-19 vaccinations in his first 100 days in office. He said his first month in office would not end the outbreak and gave few details on rollout strategy, but he said he would engage the cause of COVID-19. Roslyn Evorame has details.
The U.S. President-elect Joe Biden at a press conference in Delaware introduced California Attorney General Isaiah Becerra as his nomination for Health Secretary and his choice of Rochelle Walensky as head of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Introducing his health team for when he takes office in 20 January, the U.S. President-elect Joe Biden urged Americans to be prepared for 100 days as he makes provision for COVID-19 vaccine to be approved and rolled out for Americans to curb the spread of coronavirus. President Trump, who attended a summit at the White House, hailed the expected approval of COVID vaccine by Joe Biden. The U.S. has recorded more than 15 million cases of infection in the pandemic so far and 285,000 deaths, according to Johns Hopkins University research. Roslyn Evorame reporting.
A coalition of campaigning bodies has warned against an alleged attempt by rich countries hoarding doses of COVID-19 vaccines, which is said might result to people living in poor countries likely to miss out from the vaccines. The People's Vaccine Alliance says nearly 70 lower-income countries will only be able to vaccinate 1 in 10 people. This is despite Oxford AstraZeneca pledging to provide 64% of its doses to people in developing nations. The vaccine commitment, known as COVAX, has managed to secure 700 million doses of vaccines to be distributed between the 92 lower-income countries that have signed up. By the People's Vaccine Alliance, a network of organizations, including Amnesty International, Oxfam, and Global Justice Now, says the vaccines are not enough to go round. A Royal Caribbean ship has returned to Singapore on day 3 of a 4-day cruise to now here after a passenger tested positive for COVID-19. The city-state cruise to nowhere, starting and ending at the same port without steps, launched last month. They are an attempt to revive the hard-hit cruise industry, which largely came to a global standstill after ships saw large outbreaks earlier in the pandemic. Singapore's special cruises are only open to its residents. The Royal Caribbean cruise ship Quantum of the Seas left Singapore on Monday for a 4-day round trip as part of a safe cruising scheme announced by the country's tourism board for coronavirus after checking in with the onboard medical team. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson will travel to Brussels today for talks on the post-Brexit and with the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Rosalind Eworame reports that time is running out to reach a deal before 31 December when the UK stops abiding by EU trading rules.
The pair will hold talks over dinner after negotiations between officials ended in deadlock. At the dinner, Prime Minister Boris Johnson will work through a list of major sticky points with Mrs. von der Leyen, who is representing the leaders of the 27 EU nations. Major disagreements remain on fishing rights, business competition rules, and how a deal will be reached. Any progress the two leaders will not mean a deal is done, but rather pave way for more talks between officials. The UK government said progress at a political level may allow the negotiations between the UK's Lord Frost and EU's Major Barnier to resume over the coming days. It, however, said it was important to be realistic that an agreement might not be possible. It means the UK has now dropped plans to override sections of its EU exit agreement signed last year, which would potentially broken into. Johnson will take part in Prime Minister's question before travelling to Belgian capital, and EU leaders are due to meet for a summit on Thursday. Rosalind Eworame reporting.
A helicopter crash injured. French Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin has said he will visit the site of the incident later today. And Australia has accused China of undermining their free trade agreement over a series of actions by Beijing against Australian export goods. In his strongest comments, the Trade Minister Simon Bemian said China had targeted a dozen Australian goods amidst tensions between the countries. China has imposed sanctions or halts on Australian goods such as grain, wine and beef this year. This has caused alarm in Australia as China is its biggest trading partner. Beijing has accused Australia of unfriendly and hostile attitudes towards China amid a deteriorating political row. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison demanded an apology from Beijing, which was rejected. And Denmark's Prime Minister has apologized to 22 children who were removed from their homes in Greenland in the 1950s in a failed social experiment. They were taken to Denmark to be re-educated as little Daves who could later return to foster cultural links. But when 16 did return, they were put in an orphanage and many did not see their families again. A report on the case of the children who were from Greenland's indigenous Inuit population was published on Tuesday. Only 6 are now alive. One of the children, Helen Thiessen, who said her story to newsmen in 2015, said the Prime Minister's apology meant everything to them. Now let's take a quick look at sports. Juventus forward Cristiano Ronaldo has insisted that he never saw Lionel Messi as a rival following his side 3-0 victory over Barcelona in the Champions League at the Nou Camp on Tuesday night. Ronaldo converted 2 penalties and Weston McKennie, where Juventus claimed